You have worked on so many different media, comics, novels, TV, movies, and then of course there are the crossovers, right? Never from TV to novel to comics, signal to noise, from comics to radio to play, and of course Coraline from novel to animation. So the question I want to ask is about form, right? Are there some stories that you feel can only be told best in a particular medium? Or do you think that a good story can be translated across media?
I think as long as the word is translate and not transliterate, you always have a chance. I think you can definitely always, not always, but I think you're in there with a chance at saying, here is a story, perhaps we can make a film out of it. Here is a poem, perhaps we could make an illustrated book out of it. But Sandman is a 2,500 page comic. That's what Sandman is. That's what I made. Could you put it on the stage? Sure you could. I would love to sit in an audience and see a Sandman play. I can absolutely imagine somebody doing the kind of thing they did with Peter Brook's Mahabharata, where it lasts 8 hours a day for 3 days, and you watch the whole of Sandman. That would be amazing. That would be wonderful. It would be awesome. But the thing that I made is the comic, and what I like is a world in which people take the thing that I made and they use it as the jumping off point to make really good art. I love the Coraline movie. I think Henry Selick's Coraline movie, especially when you watch it in 3D, is astonishing. It's absolutely glorious. It's not the book I wrote. But then I remember reading his very first draft script and phoning him up and saying, Henry, this is the book. You've just taken the book and you've made it a screenplay, and it's going to be a really dull film because it's lots of a little girl walking down corridors. You have to make it a film. And he went off for a year. And a year later, he gave me a script. And now, he had YB, the kid next door, and he had all of this stuff that hadn't been in his original script and wasn't in my book. But now I read it, and I went, this feels like a film script. And the things that you've done, and I like some of them and I don't like others of them, but they're all about making it a film. I like the end of my Coraline much better than I like the end of Henry's Coraline. I like the fact that she thinks her way out of problems, she tricks the hand away, she does it all on her own, and that it's a smart, brave girl figuring it out. That was the book I wanted, and I'm glad I had that ending. But I love Henry's film, and I'm also fairly convinced that if he'd tried to do that ending in his film, it would have been a much rockier, bumpier end of a film. You would have sort of felt like you were at the end, and then suddenly it would have started again, and it would have done that thing that, the third Lord of the Rings movie did, where you keep going, okay, we're at the end. Oh, no, we're not. Now we're at the end. No, we're not. You would have got that thing.
Okay, I believe there are quite a few sort of people who weren't at yesterday's session. So for your benefit, and I think you'll be interested as well, maybe you can tell us about your China project.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And we should also say something at some point about graphic novels, because technically that's what this is about. Although really it's about you get to sit in a big hall with 900 people and Neil just whitters on stage. But there is a theory under which we mention graphic novels on here. My China project, that's what I'm working on right now. It's the thing that kind of brought me to Singapore, because I got to tag it on at the end of a research trip, or even a research trip. Can't remember if I'm English or American right now. So, when I went to China 2 years ago, in 2007, I became fascinated by the way that the Chinese would all talk about the journey to the West. And I discovered that it was the perfect conversational opening. No matter what situation I was in, With who? High-level government officials or janitors? You know, you're sort of thinking, what do I talk about? And somehow you're sitting there saying, so who's your favourite character in the Journey of the West? And people start talking about Pigsy and Monkey and the monk. And, you know, and you start saying to them, so, you know, dragon becomes a horse. Do you think it's suspicious? He never had a name. And they go, well, he did have a name. He was White Horse, who was a dragon. I say, that's not a name. That's a description. And I would have these Journey to the West conversations. And I thought about it for about 6 months after I was in China. And I thought, you know, I really would love to go back. Really what I learned about visiting China once was that I don't know anything about China, and I thought I did. And I would love an excuse, because I'm this incredibly busy person with an awful lot to do, and I'm never going to go on the kind of holiday to China I'd like to do just to get the sense of it.
Always welcome you to China.
Thank you. Well, what I did was I got really clever, and I sent my publisher a thing saying, I want to do a book about Monkey and China and Shenzan, the original monk, and how he went in the 7th century to go and defied the emperor and went and got Buddhist documents and brought them back and translated them. And I want to talk about Wu Cheng-en and his great novel and the history of that and what it was. And I want to talk about me. And maybe I could do a journey to the West, and I could start off in Shanghai, and I could head off into Xinjiang by train or something. And really, what my publisher didn't know was this was really just the equivalent of saying, will you pay for a long Chinese holiday for me? But they said sure, and I got to do that last year. And then this year I went back for a couple of very exciting just follow-up things. There were people. By the end of my trip, I realized there were a few people I wanted to talk to. I wanted to talk to a high-level Buddhist. I wound up having a wonderful afternoon with Mr. Liu Xiaolongteng, who played Monkey in the Journey to the West, and him telling me all about his theories on Monkey. He came from a family of people who had played Monkey. His great-grandfather, his grandfather, his father had played Monkey in the opera. He wound up, his brother, who died early, had been a Monkey actor. He was trained to play Monkey, and then when the TV came along, he played Monkey on TV, and he was planning on handing it on to his son. But under the one-child law, he had a daughter, and while China is very open to many things, they were not open to a female Monkey actor. So he has decided to take his knowledge of Monkey and bring it to the world. We wound up having a wonderful time. So I'm working on this very strange non-fiction book about that's historical, that's mythic, it's about story, it's got demons in it, and it also has me doing a wonderfully inept journey to the West and running into interesting problems and having strange things happen to me. Outside a ruined temple in the middle of a desert, a man tried to sell me a human elbow. Things like that. So it all goes in the book.